Okay, so welcome everyone to Java Level 1. I'll be your instructor for the next 8 weeks. My name is Jack, and I have some contact information on the screen now. Don't worry about writing or taking any notes. All of this will be posted later as well. Since we are beginning a new class and everyone is new here, I do want to take a little bit of time for everyone to kind of introduce ourselves to each other, just so that we kind of know each other. Now it's a little bit harder through this online environment, but we'll do our best. I can start off. So my name is Jack, like I said before. I'm currently in college at the University of Virginia, and I just finished my second year, so about halfway through. I'm studying computer science, and that's kind of, I'm really interested in computer science. Java, I first wanted to learn Java kind of because of my parents, because I saw them coding and thought, wow, that looks really cool. I want to try myself. But also, like, of course, interested in making my own games or like automating some things. And I ended up being able to do all of that I wanted and a lot more that I didn't realize at the beginning. My programming background, so Java was actually the first language I learned. So I know some of you already know some of you may be starting out with Java. It's all good. But Java was just my first language, so it holds a little special place in my heart. So I guess we have 5 students in the Zoom now. So I want to go around and have everyone kind of introduce themselves, answer these questions. If you don't have any programming background, obviously you don't have to answer that, but I'm just a little bit curious where everyone's at. So I guess if anyone wants to volunteer, you can do so now. Otherwise, I'll just go down the participants list. Okay. So I think in the case, first on our list is, oh, another student. So if you just joined, we're about to introduce each other, so this is a good time. First on the list is David. Do you want to introduce yourself?
All right. My name is David, because you can obviously see. I go to Hoover Middle School. I'm in 7th grade. Um, Something that drives me to learn Java is I just sort of want to learn it, I guess. I don't really know how to respond to this question. And my programming background is I know a little bit of Python.
Cool. Next is Devin.
Hi, I'm Devin. Wait,
Is it? No.
wait, was it David or was it Steven or Devin?
I called on Devin.
Hi, I'm Devin. I go to Robert Frost Middle School. So I want to learn Java because I kind of just think that coding is interesting. Java is the most used programming language. And I know some Python. And I do know some Java, but I don't think it's enough to get me to Java 2. So I'm taking Java 1. And yeah, that's it.
Nice to meet you. Next, Marilyn.
I'm Marilyn.
Wait, am I muted?
I'm 11 years old and I go to Cabin Jaw Middle School. And I took Java lessons, but I'm not that good at it yet. So I'm taking this lesson.
Sounds good. Michelle or Michael. My bad. Michael, not Michelle.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm in 9th grade and I want to learn Java because just because like in the future for like, because it's useful and I've taken like other computer science classes in like school and stuff. So yeah, that's my experience.
Cool. Sophia, do you want to go next?
I'm Sophia. I go to Halliwell's Middle School, and I want to learn Java because it seems interesting, and I don't really have a programming background.
No problem. We'll be starting off from scratch, so you should be in a good place. I think 2 people left. Stephen, you're next.
My name is Stephen. I go to Hoover Middle School. I am in 8th grade. To be honest, I don't particularly want to learn Java. My parents want me to, and I know some Python.
Okay, I can understand that sort of situation, but hopefully you can learn some, and hopefully it'll be a bit more fun than you expect.
I mean, like everyone here taking classes are forced by parents.
Yeah, we'll try to make the best of
I
it.
wasn't exactly forced. I wasn't exactly forced. I just came here on my own accord.
The worst.
Okay, I think Andrew, you came in a little bit later, so going back
I'm
to
sorry.
you. Yep. Oh, you didn't
Oh.
miss anything. Just
Oh, wait.
introduce you.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Okay, that's good. Okay, sorry, I was late.
No problem. No problem.
I didn't know the link changed.
Oh, no, it's all good. You didn't miss anything. We were just doing introductions.
Okay, my name is Andrew. I go to Brandon Middle School, grade 7. And what drives me to learn Java, I think it's fun. And programming background, I did some Python before and took a class on it.
Cool. I think that does cover everyone now. I think I've been teaching kind of Java and Python. I've done a couple of these classes now, and it's really interesting every time to see like where everyone's coming from. It seems like this time everyone's kind of near the same-ish age range, which is actually kind of interesting. Before I've had like some people in even elementary school, some people in late high school. It seems like most people are around the same place, which is interesting. I know I started learning Java and programming only when I started 9th grade. So you guys are all in great spots right now. To start us off on the Java experience, I do have like a kind of short YouTube video just to be a little bit more fun, I guess, and to explain what Java really is. And so let me make sure I'm sharing audio. And let me start it.
Chapter 2, Fundamentals, Part 1. Hello World. Java is a programming language which runs on more than 3 billion devices. It is also used to build Android apps.
There's a gray rectangle.
Oh,
Okay.
I said, yep. Did it go away now?
Yeah, it's gone.
Yep.
This
Sorry, I
chapter,
forgot about
we
that.
will go through the fundamental concepts of Java programming. Let's begin. Hello World.java is a Java file. When executed, it prints Hello World to the console window. There is no need to understand every line of code here. Just note that system out println Hello World prints whatever is between the quotation marks out to the console window. Let's see what happens when this code is executed. Computers can't make sense of the Java code. What? That is right. Programmers can make sense of it. Computers only understand bytecode, a machine gibberish written in zeros and ones. So there has to be a way to translate the Java code to bytecode. Who does this translation? Java compiler does this job. It translates and compiles the Java code into bytecode for the computer to understand. Then Java Virtual Machine, or JVM, executes the bytecode and outputs the result. Syntax.
Okay, so that's actually really short. That's all I really wanted to cover. The syntax stuff we'll be covering in class later on. This is kind of the important thing to know about Java, I guess. Java is a computer programming language, just like Python. I know a lot of people said they have some experience there. But Java is also more than just a language. It's also called a platform. And the reason for this is the compiler and the executor that you see like here and there. And so what's special about Java and what makes it a little bit more interesting is that we write Java code. In the file that we write it in is something called .java. That's the code that we write as programmers. That's something that you can kind of look at and understand. But then we have this thing called a compiler. And you can think of the compiler kind of as like a translator, right? As the video said, that computers can't really understand Java code directly, right? Computers can't read. What computers do is they operate on ones and zeros. You might have heard everything is like binary ones and zeros. The compiler is what translates your source code, your Java code, into the bytecode, the ones and zeros. And so that creates another file, and it's not too important to memorize it, but that file is called a class file, .class. And basically what makes Java interesting is that once you compile Java code into bytecode, that bytecode can now be run on anything that supports Java, right? So I'm sure you've seen like when you install Java or update Java, it says like, oh, 3 billion devices use Java. I think that number is probably outdated, but it goes to show like all those devices that support Java, that means whenever you write any Java code and compile it, your compiled code can run on any of those machines, no problem. Doesn't matter if it's a computer or a phone or some like chip inside of a toaster, don't know. If it supports Java, you can run the bytecode on it. The actual how you run the bytecode, that's something called a JVM or Java Virtual Machine. It basically just takes your ones and zeros, your bytecode, and tells the computer how to run it. Right? So today we're gonna focus mostly on setup. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of setup before we can actually get to writing Java code and learning Java code, but hopefully it'll be quick and painless. But before we get to that point, I do want to take a moment and talk about how the class is going to be working. I know some of you might have taken like Python classes at AOE, but if this is your first class, the way it operates is we have 1 hour classes every week. That will be mostly just like a PowerPoint and some demonstrations, and I'll kind of introduce a new topic. Might do some exercises, might ask you some questions. And then typically there'll be a little bit of like quote unquote homework, but don't be too scared. It shouldn't take too long. It's just a little bit of practice because just sitting in a class for 1 hour every week isn't enough to learn a programming language. You really have to practice it yourself on your own time. And so that's what the purpose of the homework is. As for class time though, if you do have any questions, the best way, the way I prefer the most is actually if you just unmute and speak up. I like that participation the most. But if you don't feel as comfortable with that, the chat feature also works. So if you've used Zoom, just at the bottom there's a chat, and you can just send a chat message, and I'll monitor that. I'll be monitoring that throughout the class. Otherwise, I think that's all I have to say about course logistics. So we can jump to kind of the more Java stuff, kind of AP computer science topics. This isn't an AP class, but the reason we have this slide is kind of to show off what we're going to be covering in Java 1. Primarily, it's going to be like some of these earlier sections, such as units 1 through 4. And we'll also be covering a little bit of 6 and maybe 7, arrays and ArrayList. But on to kind of, I think now you should see the slide. Now on to the setup part. There's 2 main things that we need to set up. The first is the JDK. stands for Java Development Kit, and this is kind of the compiler. Right? When you download the JDK, when you install it, that allows you to compile the Java code. You need this to develop Java because you need to compile your code before you can run it. And so I have this download link page. If you've already downloaded this, you don't need to do it again. But if you click on that link, you should be brought to this page, actually, I think. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so, okay, it should be brought to this page. You should see Java SE16. So we're just gonna download the most up-to-date. This is just the easiest that way. And what you wanna click is this JDK download link, kind of in the middle of the page. When you do that, it brings you to a download page. And if you scroll down, you see a whole table of different versions kind of that you can download. So if you're Windows, I would recommend downloading the exe file. And if you're Mac, I think it's the DMG file. Right? I guess really quickly, how many of you guys are not on Windows? I'm most familiar with Windows, and that's what I use most of the time. But I know Macs are also can be pretty popular. So I don't see anything in the chat or anyone speaking up. Does this mean everyone is using a Windows machine? If so, I'll just continue assuming everyone's. I'll just give the Windows instructions. In that case, you want to just look at the Windows installer, and you want to click this download link. And it should download a exe file. After you select the agree, you just need to agree to the conditions. Let me click that and just the green download button. And when you do that, you should see kind of an exe file that goes and downloads. We do kind of have to wait a little bit for everyone to download, but once you download this, it's an exe file, so you can just double click it, you can run it, and it will take you through the setup step by step. So I can just click it to show it off. I won't actually download, but it'll probably ask you to say, do you want to allow this app to make changes? You want to click yes. And then if you wait a little bit, a window should pop up with some instructions. So if you can see on my screen, this setup wizard showed up on my screen. And for the most part, you just, unless you have a particular preference, I would just recommend going with the defaults. So just clicking next, this is where you can change where it's installed to. The default is a pretty good place to do it. And then actually when you just click next, it will just install it onto your computer. No fuss right there. You can see like kind of the progress bar. At this point, you just wait for it to finish up. It shouldn't take too long, maybe a minute or two. The JDK is usually pretty fast to install. Yep. Once it's done, you can see it's done. It says Java has been successfully installed. You just want to close and we're done with this step. Just so I guess I can tell where everyone's at with JDK. I know it takes a little bit of time to download and run. On the participants list, if you can open that up, and there should be a button at the bottom to raise your hand. So right now I've raised my hand, I can lower it. When people have finished installing the JDK and you're done with that whole wizard, could you raise your hand just so I can tell who's done and who needs more time? I don't want to leave anyone behind on the installation stuff because it can take a little bit of time. Okay, thank you, Sophia, for raising your hand. I see that. If you're just waiting for things to run, that's fine. But if you have any questions about what I clicked, what should you select, I can have you take over the screen share and we can work through that. I know I ran through it a little bit fast today. Okay. I guess another way I can do it is I can make a straw poll. So actually, instead of the raise hand thing, that's a little bit annoying actually. I put a link in the chat to a straw poll. And so if you haven't used straw poll, it's a way that I'll be using throughout the course to just kind of just do anonymous polling. I might do some multiple choice questions and create a straw poll like this. So there's really only one thing. When you're done installing the JDK, just click the done and vote, just so I can see kind of where we are at. I'll be waiting for everyone to vote. Okay. I see 3 votes so far. Those of you who have not voted yet, could you speak up or put in chat, like, are you just waiting for it to run? Is it just taking time, or are you having problems or not sure what to do? Okay, downloading, running.
I'm just waiting for it to finish downloading.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, unfortunately, the installation is a little bit just waiting for things to run, waiting for things to download. For those of you who are already done, I guess, there will be another thing that we need to install. So I can have you guys start downloading that. It will take a little bit, well, not too much longer, but it's a little bit larger of a file. And those of you who are still doing the JDK, don't worry, I'll go over it again. The second thing that we need to download is kind of our editor, our IDE. And so, like, the best way to describe this is, you know, you use Word or Google Docs to write a Word document, right? You have a software that allows you to write the code. And so Eclipse is what we're going to use to write Java. I guess if you have another preference or already have an IDE, you don't need to install Eclipse, but I will be using Eclipse in all my demonstrations. So it might be a little bit easier if you just also have it.
Do you like download all of those?
So yeah, so when you go click that link, you should see a page like this. What you actually want to do is do download packages right here. It's kind of hidden below the download button. Don't click the button, click download packages. And it should bring you to a list of different Eclipse packages here. And so I would just recommend the Eclipse IDE for Java developers, the first one right here. If you're Windows, which I assume everyone is, you can click this link right here, right next to Windows. And when you do, you will be brought to a download page, and now you can click the download button. When you click this download button, it takes a little bit of time, but you should see on my screen a zip file is being downloaded. This one might take a little bit longer compared to the JDK because it's a little bit larger in size. I'm just checking the straw poll again to see where we're at for the JDK. And if you're working on Eclipse, when you're done downloading the zip folder, you can just extract it as well. So we will need to extract the folder. You can put it wherever you want. That's just where our software, our IDE is going to sit. So probably put it somewhere convenient, somewhere that's not going to move around too much. But otherwise, anywhere on your computer is fine.
So I finished downloading. So do I click do I click next steps, or do I just press close?
You can just click close.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, no problem. I think this Eclipse will take a little bit longer to download and set up, but we can work through it. I'll be just showing it off. Eclipse, I've downloaded the exe, or the zip, I'm sorry. So here I have the zip folder in my downloads folder right here. And on Windows, it's very easy. You can just click the folder. You can either right click and extract all, or you can at the top click the extract tab and extract all. I'm just gonna put it in my downloads just for demonstration. You can also put it there if you want, or probably put it in documents or desktop, wherever you feel most comfortable. I'll just call Eclipse, exclamation mark. Oops, can't use exclamation mark. Oh, the path. So the downloading and the extraction, this is going to take a little bit of time, just because it's a big file. It's a big folder. Okay, I see you have another vote for JDK. I guess I'll make another straw poll for Eclipse as well. So I put another straw poll in the chat just for seeing when people are done with installing Eclipse. And I'll just look at the results without voting. Just so I can gauge where everyone's at in the whole installation process. Luckily, we only have to go through this once. Oh, yeah, I can go over how to download it again. So in the chat, do you see the eclipse.org/downloads link? It's above my strong poll. Yep, when you click that, you should see this page. And what you want to click is not the orange button. Don't click this. Click the link down below. It says download packages. When you click download packages, it's no problem. Worst case, I will upload these instructions on Google Classroom. I'll talk about that later. We'll give you some time. We'll give everyone some time to kind of run and install this. But if you really can't get it installed today in class, you can try to do it outside of class, and you can email me if you have troubles. Today is mostly going to be installation. We will write a little bit of Java code, but for today, you can just look at my screen if it's not finished installing yet. Yeah, today will be a little bit of a ease in. There also won't be homework for today's class. Yeah. But once we're at the download packages file page, you want to click the Windows link. So don't click Windows, click the x86 64. And that link finally brings you to the correct download page. So you want to click download right here, and it will download a zip folder. And I will just cancel it because I already have it, but that's how you would do it. Yeah, no problem, Andrew. Just looking at the votes. Okay. I think I'll give it about, yeah, I can go over it now actually, Devin, but yeah, we'll have time. Yep. I'll reserve another 10 more minutes for installation downloads. I see not many people, or no one has voted on the Eclipse poll yet, so I'm not going to move along until at least about half the class if it has it installed. But for Devin, if you click the Eclipse download link, I'll put it again in the chat since it's kind of up there again. This brings you to the main downloads page. You want to click download packages, right? Not the button, but the download packages link. And then you want to click Windows, the link next to Windows. Make sure you're doing it for Java Eclipse IDE for Java developers. And you want to click this link. This brings you to the real downloads page. And now you can click the orange button and you'll get a zip folder downloading.
Like we can download any of these.
You should, are you talking about like this page right here?
No, like, can we like pick one to download?
So you can pick between these two. Like these are for other things, like this is for C++, this is for PHP. These two are the main ones. The difference is this one, it says enterprise Java and web developers. It basically has just like extra features. But to be honest, the default Eclipse already has way more features than we ever need. Actually, like not just for this class, but in general, I do use Eclipse for Java development. There's so many features in Eclipse that like a lot of them are really useless just for developers like us. So I would just go with the basic. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you do want to download this one, it's going to be a little bit larger. You can see this one is 519 megabytes. This one's 300. So yeah, like this one's a little bit smaller and it has more than enough. Yeah, but at the very least, choose between these two. Okay, once you have the zip folder, zip is just a compressed folder format just to make the size a little bit smaller and easier to download. But here, like, if I open up my downloads, I have my zip folder. You can right click or click on it. I would just say right click, and there should be an option to extract all. Right. Alternatively, if you're on like Windows Explorer, you can click it and click the extract tab at the top, the pink tab, and just do extract all. Here's where it tells you like you can put it wherever you want. This is going to be where Eclipse is going to be stored from now on. So maybe put it in your documents, maybe put it in an AOE folder, wherever you want. You could put it in downloads if you want. And a nice way of installing Eclipse like this is when you're done, if you need more space or if you decide you really don't like Java after this class, you can just find this folder, you can delete it, and Eclipse is completely uninstalled from your computer. Basically, this folder, when you extract it, that's everything that Eclipse needs. Yeah, it's contained all in that folder. Yep. Okay, so I see a couple people have finished with Eclipse. I do want to, I'm not going to move on just yet. Yeah. Okay, let me close out some tabs. Yeah, if you do need me to demonstrate anything again or have any questions, you can speak up, you can message in chat, both are fine. But we'll be waiting a little bit, probably at least 5 more minutes. And then we'll have the remaining 20 to talk about Eclipse and Java. I promise future classes will be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more Java focused. There's just no way around it. We have to install these things before we can get started. So actually, let me open up my Eclipse real quick. Put it here. Put it here. I guess while we're waiting, we can kind of see this again. So actually, how the JDK and Eclipse fits into like this picture, this flow, kind of Eclipse is on this end. Eclipse is what helps us write our source code. It has a lot of nice features. It's not just a text editor. Like technically you can write Java. Well, technically you can write Java using like Word. Technically you can write Java using Notepad. But those are just plain text editors. They're not very nice to write Java in. What Eclipse does is it basically has a lot of tools, like formats our code for us, auto completes for us. It will check for any errors. It will give us tips or do things automatically for us. So that's why we use Eclipse. It just makes writing the source code a lot easier. And then the JDK that we installed, that's what does this compile step. Actually, Eclipse will use the JDK to compile. Once we compile, then the JDK also includes this JVM. It includes this thing to run it, and that allows us to see or run the code that we wrote. So that's kind of like, I know it feels kind of like, oh, install this, install that. I hope it's a little bit clear like what these things are used for and why we need them. Okay. Let's see, it is 6:40. A reminder, if you finished Eclipse download and then unzipping, please vote in the straw poll in the chat, just so I have like kind of a count of how many people are installing, how many people are done and waiting. Currently, I have 2 votes. Unzip, okay, so if we go here in my downloads folder, I have right here the zip folder that I downloaded. On Windows, you can right click and click extract all. Right, when you click extract all, a menu pops up. It'll ask you, where do you want to save it? You can hit browse and say, oh, okay, I want to go to documents, for example. And then I hit select folder. Then you can click the extract button at the bottom to unzip. I'm not going to do it because I've already unextracted. So I'm not going to do it again. But when you click that, then you should see a progress bar that shows up. It'll be green. I'll say how far it has to go. Is that clear, David? No problem. Okay, since we are only at 2 votes for having installed Eclipse, probably wait a little bit more time. Maybe we can get some more. Okay, so finish downloading. Unzipping should, okay, unzipping. So when you've downloaded, you can go to your downloads folder, wherever that is. If you're on Chrome or anything similar, you can right click on the file and show in folder. That will bring you to where it's located. So here I have my zip folder. This is what you downloaded. You want to right click and select extract all. When you click extract all, a menu pops up. And this first part is where do you want to unzip it? Where do you want to extract the files? So you can click browse and you can choose wherever you want on your computer. So for example, maybe I want it in, I don't know, Hackathon. And I want it here. I can select folder and then you can click extract to unzip everything. Once you click extract, you should start seeing the progress bar, and it'll tell you how far it's gone, how much it needs. Did that help, Marilyn?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. I guess actually these straw polls should have thought through more. These aren't too useful, so it's nearing 6:45. I do want to spend as much time as needed to like go through any like questions, but if it's waiting, then maybe I'll just move on from here. So I do want to see like where everyone's at. So I guess are you installing the JDK? Are you downloading Eclipse? Or are you unzipping? Or are you done? So sorry for spamming you guys with straw polls, but I promise the last one for today, at least. If you could go on there, select where you're at right now. Are you JDK? That's the first thing that we did. Are you waiting for it to finish downloading? Are you waiting for it to be unzipping? Or are you done? Right? Are you just waiting for me to go on? Okay. I would like for everyone to vote. So I'll be waiting for, I think, 7 votes. That's how many students we have today. Downloading Eclipse, okay. Okay. I think I'm 1 vote off from 7. So if you haven't voted yet, let me just make sure that, yep, I think we have 7 students. So if you haven't voted yet, I don't know who you are, but if you could just choose where you're at right now, so I have an idea. Okay. I guess whoever's downloading Eclipse right now, do you think you've heard how to unzip it once you've finished downloading and know what to do afterwards? anyways, I think since most people are nearing completion, I may, in the time we have left, talk about how to use Eclipse and write our first simple Java program. For that, I guess, those of you who've installed Eclipse, if you open up wherever it's located, so I think for me, it's downloads Eclipse. So if you open up wherever you've unzipped your files, that folder, you want to navigate into the Eclipse folder if you haven't already. And then you should see something that says eclipse.exe, right? Kind of right there, third from the bottom. And you want to double click that. You should see kind of a thing that pops up. It should say Eclipse IDE. This version was released in March of this year. They're constantly updating. So you should see this kind of screen that pops up, and it'll be a little bit more waiting for it to start up. But that is how you're going to run Eclipse every single time. So today we're going to start it up, write a program. In the future, when you're doing homework, when you're doing anything else, you want to make your own application, you want to go here, you want to run eclipse.exe. The first thing that will pop up when you run Eclipse, once it's done kind of loading initially, it'll ask you for something called a workspace. So your workspace is kind of like your documents folder. It's where all your code is going to be. It's just a folder. And so it asks you to select a folder to use as your workspace. Here, it will give you a default one. It's basically your users folder and your username, and then it creates a folder called Eclipse Workspace. I would recommend that's a perfectly good place to have your workspace. But if you have a specific place you want instead, you can, of course, click Browse. You can select wherever you want it to be. It doesn't matter too much. And then just for convenience, I would recommend selecting this. Use this as the default and do not ask again. Right? So typically, you're not going to change your workspace too much. But even if you did, you can change it after Eclipse is running. You can just click this so you don't have to be, you're not asked every single time that you start Eclipse. Yeah, but you just want to select some place, you want to click launch afterwards. Okay, I'll get to you, Devin, really quickly. I'm just gonna choose this. Launch. Okay, so Devin, how do you unzip? So if you go to downloads, you should find your thing that you downloaded. So here it is for me, right here. I want to right click, and in the menu that pops up, I want to click extract all. When you do that, it'll ask you where you want to store it. So you can select anywhere on your computer that you like. And then you want to click extract at the bottom. Yep. Nope. Okay, so actually, this was a bad demonstration, I guess. Because I actually ran this a little bit earlier today, so that isn't exactly what you're gonna see, but can I choose a new workspace or something? Oof. Okay, so here is, yeah, I guess we can work from here. When you start Eclipse up for the first time, you're gonna see a lot of, like after you select the workspace and click launch, you're gonna see a lot of like first time menu pops up. I think the first thing that you see will be like a thank you for downloading, and you can exit out kind of in the top right. There should be an arrow that points to the side. I think it's a box. You can click that and it closes that. And then you will see kind of something in the middle of your screen. It's like a welcome screen. And you can exit out of that as well, just like a tab that you can close. And at that point, you should see kind of just this empty looking, kind of intimidating, a lot of buttons everywhere. This is what Eclipse is, our editor. I guess quickly, those of you who have Eclipse installed and are running, do you see this screen? Do you see like your Eclipse editor laid out in front of you, these kind of panels? Are you here? If you could put that in the chat or speak up. Okay, yeah, I see some yes. All right. So I'll say some stuff. Eclipse is definitely, none of these editors, IDEs, are nice to use, I guess. They're all pretty intimidating at first. There's just a lot of features. That's why I was saying like, this is the quote unquote basic version, but even the basic version has so many features and we're only gonna cover like maybe like 5% of them. But the main ones that you need to know, the first thing is, how do we start writing code, right? How do we get a file that opens up? So the first thing that we need to do is create what's called a Java project, right? So a project is just a term for kind of the highest level. A Java project is just like a game, assignment, whatever. You can say all of your code for AOE is a Java project. So Java project is like a really broad thing that covers a lot of Java code. So we want to click File and New. And when you are hovering New, when you click it, a menu pops up on like what you want to make. And so there's all sorts of things. The very first thing in the list should be Java project. And so you want to click Java project because that's what we want to make. And you can call the project name something. So you can type whatever you want. If you say something that's like invalid, it'll probably tell you, but usually that's not going to be a problem. So here I'll just say, I don't know, AOE. I'm just going to say all my AOE code for this class is going to be in this project. All the defaults you can leave. In general, defaults are pretty good. So don't worry about any of this stuff. Just click finish at the bottom. The only thing that you have to be careful of, and don't skip past this menu, it'll say, do you want to create a module info.java? You want to say, no, don't create this file. Right? It will cause problems later on. We do not want it. So don't click create, click don't create, like, no. When you're done with that, it should be very quick because it doesn't really do much. It just basically sets up a folder. In your leftmost panel, you have something called the Package Explorer. And so that is kind of your like file explorer. It shows all your files. So here, you probably don't have this first thing. This is just testing things worked earlier in the day. But you should see the project that you just made. In this case, it was AOE. I can open it up and I should see some folders. You can see the JRE system library. You can ignore that. And you should see a source folder. So the source folder is what contains all of your Java code, right? If you write any Java code for this project, it's going to belong in the source folder. Right? And that's what SRC stands for, source. At this point, you've created a Java project. So now you can make a Java file. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're on the source. You want to click it or something like that. We just want to make sure you're selecting it. You want to click it and then right click. When you right click, it might take a little bit of time for the menu to pop up, but you should again see new at the top. This time, instead of creating a new Java project, we want to create a class. So that's like the weird thing when I started out with Eclipse and Java. It was really confusing to me. Like I want to make a Java file. But actually what it's called, and we'll talk about this later, it's a class. So you want to click class, and then a menu pops up. Okay, I see some chat messages really quick. I'll get to them really quickly. So here we have, again, you want to just write a name for it. So here I'll call it Hello World. And then the one time you don't want to use default, you want to select this checkbox. You want to automatically create this first thing. There's 3 checkboxes. You want to click the first one and then finish. Okay, so I see some messages in the chat. So first, let me just go in order. Michael, how do you get to the Package Explorer tab? So the Package Explorer tab should be open by default. It should be on the left side of the panel. But if you don't see it, what you can do is you can go to the top right, and there should be like a small box that's in blue. And if you hover over it, it says Java. You can right click, reset, and this will reset your perspective. So you want to click reset perspective, and it basically just opens everything up to the default. So everything should open up like you see here. Okay. And so if you don't see it at that point, maybe I can have you share screen afterwards. We can take a look. David, okay, nice, Michael. David can't open up Eclipse, give me as an error. Okay, so that is an error that's a little bit odd to me. It might be a sign that it wasn't extracted properly or didn't download properly. That's what I'm trying to Google it right now. It looks like it's something to do with the installation, but I would unfortunately say re-download it, re-extract it, and try again. Usually it actually fixes, re-downloading usually fixes things. Yeah, that's probably due to Eclipse not having a file that it wants or something like that. It's kind of what's saying here, just basically something went wrong, something couldn't be loaded. And so, yeah, unfortunately, you can try to re-download, re-extract. Make sure that you have unzipped. Sometimes if you don't unzip, then it won't work. So make sure you've unzipped. Yeah, I would say try re-downloading in that case. And Andrew, it's taking me a while to unzip. That is, yeah, it does take a while. It's a pretty big folder. So in this case, we're almost out of time. I would say try to have it running on your computer. It'll finish at some point, and if you run into problems afterwards, you can email me. The slides will be posted, and my email is in that first slide, and I can help with any installation problems. And this applies to anyone. So if you're trying to install and you're having problems, please, please, please email me, and I'll be available throughout the whole week, and I can either just resolve it through email, or we can set up a meeting and we can work on it one-on-one. But in the time left, I do want to kind of write our first Java program. And so it's actually just one line. It was from that video that we saw before. If you have this, you can type system with a capital S. So SYSTEM, make sure it's a capital S. Then you hit period or dot. And then you want to type out, O-U-T, another dot, and then print, P-R-I-N-T, L-N, So print line, that's what it's short for. And then open parentheses. You should see that Eclipse automatically puts a closing parentheses. It's highlighted in yellow right now. And then you want to do double quotes and say, hello world. That's a classic program. And to finish it off, you need a semicolon. Right next to L on your keyboard, semicolon to finish off the line. You should see no red underline. If you see any red underline, that's problems, something went wrong, there's an error. Usually probably make sure you're closing everything, make sure you have a closing quote, make sure you have a closing parentheses, and make sure you have a semicolon at the end. All of those are important to have. Once you have that, you can just click run, and it'll ask you to save your files. You can click OK to save. And at this point, it will compile and it will run. And when it runs, it will print out hello world. And you can see at the bottom, that's your console. That's where everything's printed out. So right there, hello world. And you can change this to whatever you want. So I can say, hi Jack. I can hit run. I want to save again. And you can see it says hi Jack. I can say, hi class. Hit run, save. This is hi class. The run button is kind of in your toolbar. It's the play button, green play button, kind of to the left side of the screen. I know I'm running a little bit of overtime, so I do want to just say what I need to say, and then those of you who are having trouble, I can stay a little bit after and answer any questions. But the important things I want to cover is Google Classroom. So I think I saw several of you are already on there, which is great. If you aren't there yet, you want to go to Google Classroom and put in this class code. I'll put it in chat. Oh, that's the invite link, not the code. And put it into chat. So you want to go here. The slides will be posted. For lecture recordings, I think you should reach out to Miss He for that. She handles the recordings. Might be posted on Google Classroom afterwards, but definitely reach out to her about the recording. The slides should already actually be posted. I have them scheduled. So the slides are posted today. This is the PowerPoint that I had with all of the instructions. But yeah, that's about it for today's class. That's all I wanted to cover. I promise next week will be a little bit more interesting. Hopefully we'll be done with all the installation stuff. Don't need to work on that anymore. And we can start learning and writing our own Java code. Yeah, that's all I had for today. So if you're feeling comfortable, you think everything went well with the installation or running, don't have any questions, feel free to leave and I'll see you next week. But I will be staying around to answer any questions that anyone might have. All right. Let's give it a couple seconds.